For decades, if you said American luxury, you were basically just saying Cadillac. They were the standard. But after a pretty long and painful fall from grace, the company decided to bet everything on one high-tech, high-stakes engine to try and win back its crown. This is the story of that Northstar gamble.
And that's really the question, isn't it? This is about more than just a car. It's a full-blown identity crisis. What do you do when the brand that literally defined quality and style completely loses its way? How do you even begin to find your way back? Okay, so to really get why this was such a big deal, you have to understand just how high they were flying before the fall. And back in the golden age of American cars, no car flew higher than the Cadillac Eldorado.
I mean, what a perfect name, right? Eldorado. It wasn't just a model, it was a promise of treasure, of finding the ultimate prize. The name itself set this ridiculously high bar for the car to live up to.
And would you just look at this thing? The 1959 Eldorado wasn't just a car, it was a rolling monument to American confidence. Those tail fins are absolutely legendary. It was impossibly long, dripping with chrome, and just completely unapologetic. This was it. This was the car that screamed, "I've made it."
Yeah, but, those golden ages don't last forever, do they? The brand that was once the standard of the world started a long, painful slide.
And it didn't happen all at once. It was kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts. First, the bean counters, as they say, started cutting corners on quality. Then came the downsizing. Just try to imagine this. They shaved 16 inches off their flagship luxury car. The result? Sales collapsed by 72%. It was a completely self-inflicted wound. This quote really just captures the vibe of the era perfectly. It wasn't just about bad styling choices anymore. The cars themselves were falling apart. We're talking about poor quality steel, cheap wiring. The brand's reputation for being bulletproof was literally rusting away.
So that's what it all came down to. Cadillac had just lost its cool. The cars were seen as unreliable, old-fashioned, kind of frumpy. The standard of the world had become the standard of the retirement home. They desperately needed a miracle.
And that miracle, well, it was supposed to come in the form of a technological moonshot. The plan was to leapfrog everybody with a truly advanced, world-class piece of engineering. And this was the chosen one, the 1993 Alante, a sleek, two-seat roadster designed to go head-to-head with Mercedes-Benz. It was sharp, it was modern, and it was a million miles away from the stuffy Cadillacs of the 80s. This was the car that was going to carry their comeback hopes.
And you gotta understand, Cadillac wasn't just trying to build a better car here. They were trying to build a whole new image. The Alante was basically a declaration of war. It was them saying, hey, we're back in the game and we're ready to compete on the world stage. At the very heart of this huge gamble was the Northstar V8. This was the crown jewel. Listen to this. All aluminum, 32 valves, dual overhead cams. This was exotic stuff for a Caddy. It was smooth, it was powerful, and it was designed to rev high, totally changing the character of the car. And here you can really see what that meant. The engine itself looks incredibly complex, but that graph on the right tells the real story. The Northstar gave the Alante a nearly 100 horsepower jump over the previous year's model. That's not an upgrade, that's a full-on revolution. So, Cadillac had the car, they had the engine, but the biggest question of all was still hanging out there. Would anyone actually believe them? Would the critics, who had been trashing them for years, buy into this new vision? Well, it turns out they did. Motor Trend loved its sophisticated power, saying it was refined, not just raw muscle. That's a huge win right out of the gate. Then you've got Car and Driver, and they just hit the nail on the head, basically calling it the ultimate anti-grandpa car, a direct shot at Cadillac's old, stuffy image. And finally, Auto Week called the engine a star indeed, like a guiding light pointing the way forward for the whole brand. The message was clear. The praise was just everywhere. And the numbers absolutely backed up the hype. Nearly 300 horsepower, a 0 to 60 time of 6.6 seconds that put it right in the ring with its European rivals. But, and this is a big but, look at that price. Almost $61,000 in 1993 money. That was a huge ask for a brand that was still trying to claw its reputation back. So, bottom line, the critical reception was a total home run. The press was sold, the Northstar engine had single-handedly changed how people thought about what a Cadillac could be. But, as we all know, glowing reviews don't always mean people are lining up to buy the car. So, the Alante, with its amazing engine, took over as Cadillac's top luxury car. But where does this high-tech wonder really fit into the grand 50-year history of the Eldorado nameplate?
I mean, look at this journey. From that super exclusive 53 convertible to the absolute peak insanity of the 59 tail fins, then that radical switch to front-wheel drive in '67, and finally, the high-tech era that the Alente kicked off. It was a name that just had to keep reinventing itself.
And then, after half a century, the story came to an end. And get this, to honor that very first year of production, the final run had exactly 1,596 cars. It was a really fitting, symbolic end to one of the most iconic names in car history.
And what's really fascinating here is that while the Alente and even the Eldorado name itself are gone, the legacy of that Northstar engine lived on. It really was the guiding light that powered Cadillacs for years to come. It proved it could still build a truly world-class engine.
Which leaves us with this final thought. The Northstar was a brilliant engine in a car that critics adored, but the public just wouldn't buy at that price. So it proved Cadillac could still innovate, but it didn't save the Alente. It makes you wonder, what's more important for changing a brand story? A technological masterpiece or a car that people actually buy? That's a tough question about how you really define a comeback.